Is Auburn surging for a 5-star prospect?
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the boog, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off. And you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to dadgum get after it. Happy Thursday. Is Auburn in good position to land one of the top players in the country, one of the top 25 players in the country? I think Auburn has sort of quietly moved their way up to maybe in the pole position as he closes in on his commitment date. We'll talk about that in just a second. Got some new staff hires that the boogeyman has let Hugh Freeze add to his recruiting enterprise. We'll talk about that. And then camp's only 6 days away. It's going to be a long 6 days. No one needs it here quicker than Auburn. We need football to start badly. Before we talk about all that, let's give a quick shout out to Rhoback.com. I have my Rhoback licensed Auburn throwback Albie hoodie on right now. Feeling comfy, feeling great. You can get it too. Save big. Go to Rhoback.com. Use coupon code BARN20 to take 20% off your order. All kinds of other Auburn licensed apparel. I think they got new stuff coming soon as well. And then you got the rest of the sides you can enjoy too. So look good, feel good, save big. It's Rhoback.com. Auburn seems like they're slowly gaining steam. Not slowly, I guess at this point in time is sort of reaching a crescendo, reaching its peak with 5-star safety, 5-star nickel, whatever the different sites have him projected at different positions. Braylon Womack from Hartfield Academy in Brandon, Mississippi. He's a 6 foot, 6'1", depending on which site you look at and which pair of shoes he's wearing, I guess. 200 pounds. The Rivals industry ranking has him as the number 21 player in the country, number 3 overall safety in the country, the number 2 prospect in Mississippi. This is as good as it gets. I mean, this is the kind of guys that you want to be in the running for. And it seems like as it's getting closer, it's still August 21st, and a lot can happen between now and then. August 21st is the commitment date. A lot can happen between now and then, but it seems like Auburn's positioning themselves in a really good spot to take down this kid and add him to the class. He has Auburn, Florida, Ohio State, and Texas A&M, all heavy hitters on the recruiting trail. So being able to win one with those guys in the mix, I think would be huge for Auburn. Be huge for a lot of reasons. I think it would send a message that, to Auburn fans that, hey, look, we're fine. Let's chill. We can still go out and we can still get these type of guys. So let's relax a little bit. And I think it would also, that's only less than a week from kickoff from the first game. So if that's like your last commit you add to the class before the season starts, I think that would kind of get you on, sort of get you the hype going before that first kickoff. I don't know why that recruiting is tied into how you feel about the season, but for some reason we've sort of lumped those in together when Auburn's sort of been on when they were on their recruiting lull back in June when the sky was falling. It was bad. I'm not going to lie. It was rough to watch. Somehow that bled over into how we felt about the season, as if that changed the roster. That changed the roster going into this 2025 season. But you got a chance to remedy all those woes, and I think Auburn's in a good spot. It seems like Auburn and Ohio State are the top two. He admittedly calls Ohio State his dream school. So that doesn't sound great, but Ohio State does have two very highly rated safety commits, and Auburn does not. So that obviously helps, I think, helps a little bit in Auburn's favor, although I don't necessarily see this kid being scared of anybody as far as competition goes. I think if he wants to play, he's going to play. Says he models his game after Caleb Downs. So last time I checked, he's pretty good. Auburn does have a little bit of I guess, feather in their hat in this recruitment. They do have his sister, who is an Auburn softball player. She transferred in from Ole Miss last year. Last year was her first season at Auburn. Mania Womack. She's a junior this year, so she's going into her second year. And she second year at Auburn, and apparently loves Auburn, and she wants her baby brother to come join her. So she's listed as a UTL. I assume that's utility on the roster. I guess in softball, if you can play infield or outfield, maybe you're utility. If I'm wrong with that, correct me in the comments. I think she played in just about every game last year, 30-something games. So probably going to be relied upon to be a big player this year. So that obviously helps. Not the end all be all, but I think with that sort of in your corner, Auburn doesn't have to be the biggest bid, doesn't have to be the most money. I think if you can just be in the ballpark, you got a lot of momentum in your corner. You got the location, not that far from home. You got family, not right there on campus with you. And then when the parents want to come visit the kids, they're right there together. I think that will weigh big into this final decision. I don't think Florida's going to give up. I think Florida still really wants them badly. So they're hot right now. So definitely got to watch out for them. But I love the way things are shaping up for Auburn here. I think it would send a message and calm some of the storm a little bit. Calm the storm and kind of get Auburn on a hyped up recruiting pathway as the season starts. Then who knows? You go win a couple games and early, and we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that's one to definitely watch out for. I think Auburn is moving in the right direction with Braylon. I mean, I think there's several recruiting analysts that cover Auburn that feel like Auburn maybe even has the lead here. So it's good stuff. And with all the gnashing of teeth over recruiting, and some of it, again, deservedly so, this one would be big to kind of calm the storm. So let's see what happens. Auburn has hired, the boogeyman has allowed Hugh to hire some more off the field staff. We'll talk about those in just a second. We'll be back right after this. We talked yesterday about, if you didn't hear yesterday's show, we talked about the Auburn boogeyman, how there's always seems to be someone associated with Auburn that is holding everybody back. There's somebody that's holding Auburn back, and right now the guy's John Cohen. So I'm calling Cohen the boogeyman. But Hugh has hired two guys to his off the field staff, both very interesting additions to help bolster that off the field recruiting machine under Will Redmond. The first one hired a couple of days ago, had some familiarity with Hugh. Javon Hubbard from Arkansas. He'll be our assistant general manager. Spent some time in the NFL. He's worked at Liberty with Hugh. I think I read somewhere where this thing started off with somewhere around like 9 or 10 off the field recruiting staff, and ended up, I think, somewhere around like 40 now. Like there's a ton. This operation is massive. And it's going to become more important and more important as you have to manage that. You have to manage that salary cap and you have to manage the roster in a way that it's very much so like the NFL. It's almost season to season. You really can't plan too far out in the future. You got to always be evaluating your current roster as well as your your prospects on the next year. So you definitely have to have as many eyes out there, as many hands on deck as you possibly can. And then the most recent hire, and I think I've been shocked there hasn't been more of this. A former NFL assistant general manager from the New York Jets, Rex Hogan, who is essentially a lifer NFL off the field player personnel type guy. So Rex Hogan will be joining the Tigers staff. He's going to be the director of college scouting. Okay. That was actually one of his positions, I believe, maybe at the Colts. I think maybe for the Colts, he was the director of college scouting. So I guess what you do there is you're watching film and you're picking out guys that you feel like could, obviously be good fits if kind of help build out the draft board, so to speak. So what would his role be? I think that would be interesting. Is his role if it's director of college scouting, I assume there's going to be an aspect of watching, not in person, but watching other college players that may or may not be able to, or may not be options in the portal in the future. So in other words, sort of, I guess, building out possibilities of, hey, if this guy were to go in the portal, maybe if you're watching lower level stars, like you're watching some guys from the Sun Belt or Conference USA or whatever, some of those, what do they call them? Group of 5 conferences, guys that are playing above that could translate to the SEC or a Power 5 conference. Maybe you're watching those guys to see if this guy were to go in the portal, that's somebody we think his game translates to. I think that would be a fun job, just watching film all day long and figuring out if guys could make it in your league. But regardless, you got a huge off the field staff, and again, as many experienced personnel guys as you can add, the better. I've always felt like eventually there's going to be a ton of NFL guys at the collegiate level because of how close we're getting to college football sort of mirroring the NFL as far as the way it's the rosters are composed and contracts and the portal and free agency and all that good stuff. So I think I wouldn't be shocked if one day you start seeing like head coaches as NFL GMs, just because it's going to be so much about roster acquisition and roster management. Wouldn't shock me if that happens one day. But regardless, Auburn's continuing to bolster that off the field staff, and that's good stuff. Can't hurt anything. Fall camp, guys, 6 days away. 6 days away, July 30th is the first practice. I think everybody reports on July 29th. You got your big team meeting. Be a lot of videos, some inspirational speeches. And then they put the helmets on. Though I doubt they have pads on the first day. I actually think you have to have a couple of practices in just helmets and shorts before you can put the pads on. But July 30th will be the first practice. There's no team, I think, maybe in the country, maybe in the world, that needs fall camp to start more badly. I don't think you put those two words together. As bad. There's no team out there that needs fall camp to get here as bad as Auburn. It's been negative story after negative story throughout this summer. And, sometimes, I mean, there has been off seasons where this has happened, but it seems like this one's been more so than most. And I think it's just because of how important we all feel like this season is for Auburn and Hugh Freeze, and how you want it to be so good because the roster is so good that anytime these stories come out, it just impacts you or hits you a lot harder than it normally would if Auburn was projected to go, 6-6 or 7-5, something like that. Like Auburn actually has, a pretty solid roster from a blue chip ratio, the highest blue chip ratio that they've ever had. So you're like, please, just no bad headlines, like no distractions. Let's head into this season on a good foot, and maybe we can make something special happen. But it's been like distraction after distraction, whether it's legal issues, recruiting issues, Hugh playing too much golf. Doesn't matter. It's been something. It's been something, it seems like, all summer long. But we're only 6 days away. And once practice starts, I think a lot of that dies down. And then it's, getting ready for Baylor. I mean, once practice starts, you're less than a month away from kickoff. Can you believe it? It's so close. It's so close, and I'm just as excited as I think everybody listening is as well. So we'll talk about, as we lead up to fall camp, we'll talk about the storylines that we're looking for and what we hope to see. I'm so anxious to see how the wide receiver issues play out, both good and bad. If you've been paying attention, you know what I'm talking about. I don't really want to address it directly yet until we know more. But yeah, there's so many storylines, and I can't wait for all that to get going. So, guys, let me know what you think about Braylon Womack. Are you fired up? Do you think Auburn's got a shot? Let me know in the comments. What do you think about the new staff hires? Is it just meh, or is it a big deal to kind of keep building up this off-the-field machine? And how pumped are you on a scale of 1 to 10 that fall camp is less than a week away? We're going to have a Friendship Friday tomorrow, fun guest. So definitely stay tuned for that. And we'll be back again having fun, talking Auburn football, talking Auburn sports. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.